Someone asked me my favorite grades to teach because for student teaching I did 9th through 12th and 3 to 5. Then I taught middle school grades 6 to 8 full-time for 2 years, and also high school show choir and the musicals after school. And then now I teach K to 6 full-time. This is my second year doing that. From 2 different people, what is my advice for teaching ukulele? Someone asked for self-care tips. That sounds harsh, but I'm just really like passionate about this. Merry Christmas when you're seeing this. It's Christmas Eve here. I've got my water. I'm hydrating hardcore today because my water hasn't been that good since I've been out of school, but that's not the point. The point is that I asked you guys 2 times in the past week to drop me your teaching related questions. So here is my teacher Q&A. A lot of them are sort of similar. So some of them, if I skip over your specific question, sorry, but it's because there was another one that was already similar. And also some of them I've made complete videos on. So if I don't answer, it's because I've linked my like elaborated answer below. Okay, so I got twice from 2 different people. What is my advice for teaching ukulele? I think this is going to require a whole nother video, honestly, but basically for ukulele, to sum it up for you, I use 2 resources. I use the Quaver curriculum because my school has Quaver, which is so amazing. I never thought I'd be in a school with Quaver, so I'm super grateful because it's an expensive program. But some of their videos you can find on YouTube for free. So I use the Quaver ukulele curriculum for my ukulele club, and then I use the book Uke Can Do It, and I also have attended lots of professional development seminars in person, well, workshops, not seminars, where we're actually playing and learning the basics in those workshops. So I've had a lot of like in-person help with how to teach it, which has been really nice. So I feel like I'm sort of advantageous in that aspect, as I'm not like really making up as I go. I've had a lot of help. I've went to workshops. I use Uke Can Do It, Uke Can, not Can, and Quaver. But also I just use my own experiences. So if something doesn't go well with a class, I just change it to something that's gonna work. The one main thing that I'm very consistent with is making sure that they understand good posture. So I do a lot of like posture competitions. Sorry, that was supposed to be air quotes. Posture competitions. And I have them repeat this same posture pattern over and over. Here, I'll show you what I have them do. Okay, so I do not mirror them. I actually stand backwards when I'm teaching this. So what I show them is step 1, we hold it like this. Okay, oh wait, I'm in the wrong hand. I get on them so backwards because right now I'm mirroring instead of facing backwards. So I'll say step 1 and they'll hold it like that. And I'll make sure they know that I'm backwards because I'm holding it with the same hand as them. So step 1, step 2, we play it flat against our body like this because then they're holding it with the correct arm. Step 3, we drape our arm over. And then step 4, we release our fingers. So step 1, step 2, step 3, I actually usually just do step 3. And then I make sure to talk to them about how your arm, because they'll be like, ow, this is poking me. Your arm doesn't have to be over that. It can just be hanging over here, whatever. This is the size that my students have actually. I have a little bit bigger one, but this is their size. So the one thing I'm really adamant about from kindergarten on up is posture. So step 1, step 2, step 3. And for kindergarten through 2nd grade, we'll literally spend 45 minutes going over that. I know that seems crazy until you've actually taught music and you realize that's not crazy at all, because it takes so long to correct everybody and for them to actually get it right. And then I'll have them do things like they'll set the ukulele on the ground because they sit on the ground. I wouldn't have them do it if they were in chairs because it's too far. And I'll be like, okay, ready? Step 1. And we'll see who can do it the fastest. Step 2. Step 3. And I have very strict rules on when we're using instruments in class. If they play when they're not supposed to, I take the instrument. And that is not, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if it was your first offense, I take the instrument. And they learn very quickly that they have to follow directions. They can't just be playing whenever they want to, because obviously it gets really loud really quickly. And usually if it's like their first offense, especially if it's a younger group, I'll give it back to them if they're sitting nice. But if they throw a fit or something, they don't get it back till the next class. And they just have to sit there and they have to pretend. But usually they do get it back because usually they're just like, oh man, I didn't mean to, or whatever. And then I wait a few minutes to teach them the little lesson and I teach the whole class a lesson. But you'd be really strict about that right up front, because if you let them play when you're talking and stuff, it's going to be a lot harder on the back end to try to fix that than it is if you're really intense about it on the front end. I try to make everything into a game. So even when we're learning posture, I turn that into a game. Like I'm like, okay, ready? step one, you know, like I'll do stuff like that. So that's how I start off ukuleles. I really haven't gotten that far with my ukuleles, especially in class, because we just don't have that much time and they don't remember what we did the last week. So retention's not great when you only see them once a week for 45 minutes. So I'll be working on how to do better with retention when we bring ukuleles back out this spring. Okay, so a lot of people ask for discipline advice and like behavior management. I actually have a whole video on my behavior management thing that I actually came up with during student teaching, and I've since then changed the model. It has worked for high school, it has worked for middle school, it works for my elementary students. So I highly suggest watching that video. It's way more in depth. I spent a lot of like time editing and making sure I got all my points in. So check that video out down below. Someone asked for self-care tips. So the first 2 years of teaching, or first year and a half of teaching, no, 2 years, I could not give you advice on this. My self-care was absolute trash. I was exhausted, I was overworked, I was working 80-hour teaching weeks. I was eating fast food for 3 meals a day. I usually got fast food breakfast, or I didn't eat breakfast at all, which is even worse. I would get fast food on my way between school and rehearsals because I had after school stuff pretty much every single day. And then I usually have some sort of takeout or leftovers for lunch. So not good. I didn't put any effort into it, and that showed. I became very tired, very burnt out, very stressed. And finally, enough was enough. I ended up becoming a wellness coach over the summer before my second year. Yeah, my second year teaching, right before that. And then everything changed. I incorporated daily workouts from home, which has completely changed my life. Started eating healthy and have figured out ways to make healthy eating easy for me during the school year. So self-care really starts with working out and eating right. It doesn't mean you have to follow one of my plans. It doesn't mean you have to pay for anything. Just get outside, get moving, move inside. There's lots of free workout programs on YouTube and stuff too if you can't afford whatever, but also you can get started with my team of at-home workouts and stuff for $30 for 3 months. So if you're ever interested, then just hit me up. I can help you with that. Also, personal development completely changed my mindset. Totally. My favorite starting books are Girl Wash Your Face and You Are a Badass. Those are really good starting books for people who have never done personal development before. Personally, I thought it sounded goofy till I started doing it. Now I understand why I thought it was goofy, was because I really needed it. Someone asked me my favorite grades to teach, because for student teaching I did 9th through 12th and 3 to 5. Then I taught middle school grades 6 to 8 full-time for 2 years, and also high school show choir and the musicals after school. And then now I teach K to 6 full-time. This is my second year doing that. I think my favorite grade, I will tell you my least favorite grade hands down is 7th. I don't know what happens to kids in 7th grade, but they become so different. Like I had them in 6th grade and then I would have them through to 8th grade, and my 6th graders were so sweet, and then they come back in 7th grade and they're like sea creatures, and then they come back in 8th grade and they're like adults, and it's so weird. I don't know what happens in 7th grade. I don't know, it's the weirdest phenomenon. So that's my least favorite because there are so many things you have to manage in 7th grade. I really like high school because you can build those relationships and you can really get them set up for the future, but I really enjoy primary grades. And honestly, kindergarten's probably hands down my favorite grade because they love everything. Like they have turned picking up trash off my floor into a game that they were all like cheering each other on to win. Like kindergarten loves everything. They listen really well. Well, not, you know what I mean, not listen really well. They're actually really bad listeners, but they respond really well to what you're doing. They're really excited about everything, and they really appreciate like music and being in the room and having fun. So as long as you like to have fun in your music classroom, I think you'll like kindergarten. It's really fun, and people say it's their least favorite because it's so chaotic and stuff, but I have ADHD, so I actually don't mind that at all. It keeps things interesting. Someone asked if I have a master's. No, and I don't need a master's to get tenure in my district, so as of now I will not be getting one because it's just an extra added expense that I don't need to have a tenure in my school district, so won't be doing that. If I were to get a master's, I would love to get a master's in urban education, but I don't want to go back to school full-time for it, and that's pretty much the only option right now. There's not a lot of programs that offer it, and there's really only like one online program, and I haven't had great reviews of it. And I've thought about ESL, but that would obviously be a complete career change, so I don't know. Someone said the differences between middle school and elementary school, so many that it would have to be a complete separate video, like so many. So if you want me to make that video, my opinion on middle school versus elementary school, I can do that. I enjoyed both for very different reasons. Middle school, definitely there's more of the relationship building and the helping them find out like who they are as people, whereas elementary, it's definitely less stress in my opinion, and it's just more fun. I don't know how to put it. I wasn't not having fun in middle school, but elementary is just way more fun in my opinion. But it takes a special person. You have to have a lot of patience to enjoy elementary school. So if you want me to go full in depth with that, let me know and I'll create a video about that. And someone asked about my student teaching experience. It was a real interesting one. I opted to commute 45 hours one way, so it was like an hour and a half to 2 hours of driving every day, usually 2 or more because of traffic, because I wanted to student teach in an urban situation, because I knew that's pretty much what I wanted to do when I got back to Cincinnati, and it worked out because that is what I'm doing. And so the schools I was at, in the morning I was with grades 3 to 5, and we rotated. I was with one teacher for that, but we rotated between 2 different elementary schools. And it was interesting because one was the lowest SES building in the district, and one was one of the highest SES buildings, elementary buildings in the district. It still was like average, some kids coming from 2-parent homes, a lot of kids not, but you know, it was more average, whereas the other one was pretty much all, it was like the type of building I work in now, where it's 100% poverty and lots of needs specific to the socioeconomic status and those kinds of issues that we had to deal with. So that was really eye-opening for me. And then I also got to teach 2 special education classes. That's what we called them back then. I know the names change often. And the classes that I taught were called multi-handicap, and it was the MH multi-handicap classroom, and then the classroom that was completely nonverbal. Most of my kids were in wheelchairs, and I loved those 2 classes so much. They were like the highlight of my week teaching in the elementary schools. But I did really enjoy elementary school there. There, I would say 3rd grade across the board was my favorite. I did my ed TPA with 3rd grade, so that was really fun. And then in the afternoons, I would go to the high school where I taught 9th through 12th grade choir. I taught the freshman choir, the mixed choir, and something else I don't remember. But I also stayed after school pretty frequently to do we were preparing for Once on This Island. My student teaching experience was interesting because I had 2 very different people that I was working with. The high school teacher, he was a new teacher. Like, he had only been teaching for 4 years, I think. So he was still really getting the hang of teaching and stuff. So that was interesting, helping him and like helping build his program that he was pretty much building at the moment. And then the elementary teacher I was with is like a seasoned veteran teacher that always speaks at our state conference, and she's well known, and so it was cool getting both of those different aspects, and I really took a lot for my student teaching. I really enjoyed it. Okay, someone said, where do you get inspiration for your lessons when you feel creatively drained? So I honestly haven't been creatively drained yet in the elementary classroom because I only see them once a week. I don't really see them that much, so there's really no reason for me to be drained because there's so much more that I want to do that I don't get to do with them. However, in the middle school, I did feel very drained because I saw those kids every single day for 45 minutes, 5 days a week, and the whole school year. It wasn't a semester class, it was like a full class. And so yes, it took a lot of time to prepare our music for our concerts, but anyone who teaches full-time choir knows that you also have a lot of time to do other stuff. So I ended up creating some projects. Like, I created a project where they researched music careers, and usually if I was feeling really drained and wanted like a change of pace, I would just go to TPT and look up and see if there's any cool middle school activities. I did a lot of like team building type activities in the choir because I feel like that's really an important skill for middle schoolers in general to have, and for the choir, because you have to really work as a unit to have a good choral sound. And so a lot of different things, activities like that. But right now I do use a lot of the Quaver curriculum, like the activities. I don't follow the curriculum and I don't follow the lessons as they're laid out, but I do love the activities that Quaver has. And like I said, a lot of the short videos and the activities you can find on YouTube also as samples. But I also do get a lot of my ideas just from random professional development events I've attended. I've gone to the Ohio Music Education Association, PDC, for like 6 years in a row. This is actually my first year that I won't be attending for in a really long time. and I have taken a lot of resources from those sessions that I've been to. I've attended a lot of general music sessions, a lot of ORF sessions, and I just like going through those materials every once in a while and finding something new and just pulling something out and adding it into my curriculum. So there's definitely a lot of resources if you're feeling drained or bored. TPT is amazing. I've never created TPT products. I am not creative in that sense. I don't think I would be able to. My friend Christine, the hipster music teacher, has some amazing resources though. Hers are my favorites for sure for music teachers. Over your years of teaching, what have you noticed works best with difficult behavior? Check out my video below where I talk about my behavior management. I do that 100% of the time, all the time. I do it for grades 4 and up. Now that my 3rd graders are past the Christmas break mark, I told them when they get back, they transition to that so that when they get into 4th grade, they are already used to it. And then K to 3, really difficult behaviors. I just try to make my lessons really engaging. I try to build relationships really strong with those kids with difficult behaviors, or figuring out a lot about their family, getting to know their siblings, things like that. I try to avoid phone calls home because I only see them once a week. So if I have to call home, that's, you know, 5 minutes of a 45-minute class, and that's the only time I see them all week. So it's really not advantageous for me to make a lot of phone calls home. But really developing those relationships helps a lot with those behaviors, especially since I teach them every year at the elementary school. There's some kids that gave me problems last year, but now I'm a constant versus their classroom teachers not being a constant because they got new teachers because they're in a new grade. And so I find that it's easier to develop relationships because I see them for a longer amount of time. How do you balance teaching, working out, and your faith? I guess I just don't overthink it. It's an expectation now that every day I'll work out. I usually do it before school because then it's just, I get it over with. I don't really like working out after school because I'm friggin' tired from teaching. My faith, I don't really like, I don't know, it's just not really something that I think about a lot. It's part of what I do every day. Every day I usually start my morning with worship music in the car, or I do a devotional at home before I work out while I'm drinking my pre-workout. I go to church every Sunday. That's just something I've always done, and I do it with my family. It's sort of like a weekly tradition, I guess. And I just like to be involved in different ministry aspects. I was in young adults recently for like a year. I just quit that though so that I could do prison ministries. I don't know, I'm just always finding ways to be involved in different ways to serve and stuff. So I don't know, it's not really something that like I have set times for everything. I also don't bring schoolwork home ever. Never do I bring schoolwork home, very rarely, and if I do, it's really minuscule, like downloading CD tracks or something like that. I do my schoolwork at school. I make sure I take good use of my plan bell so that I don't have to bring it home. That's how I balance, really. I never do it on weekends. I don't have anything to do for Christmas break. There's some grading that needs to be done, and it'll be done when I get back because right now I'm on Christmas break, so I'm not gonna be doing schoolwork. So that's how. Drawing a lot of lines is how. How do you mentally deal with being in a Title I school? Is your admin good with discipline? So one, I don't want to necessarily equate Title I with discipline issues because I feel like that's something that people get confused about, and that's something that is not spoken about in the right way. Like, just because you're at a Title I school doesn't mean your school's going to have a bunch of discipline issues. It also doesn't mean that your school is going to be all one color or a certain type of diversity, you know? So I feel like that's a really blurry phrase. Title I, low SES, all those phrases sort of become blurred and confused, especially on Instagram I find a lot. But I will say, if you watch my YouTube channel, you know that we have a lot of serious behavior issues at our school, just because we do. We're located in a neighborhood that has a very high crime rate as per the city, and just a lot of stuff my students see that they shouldn't see ever, and they definitely shouldn't see as children, and that changes how they react in school, and that changes how they view school, and that changes how they behave because they're seeing how adults behave and they're mimicking that because that's all they know. But yes, my administration is good with discipline. We're also all very adamant about building relationships with students. So usually if a student is having a severe problem, like a severe behavior problem, there's usually one adult that everyone knows that student will talk to. Like, we don't really have any students that don't have a good relationship with at least one adult. I can't think of, like, I'm trying to think of some of the kids that come to mind when I think of like serious behavior issues, and all of them have at least one adult who you could pull out and talk to them and they could really get through to them and calm them down. we just work together really well as a team, as a school, because we know the type of problems that we're having to deal with just before we even get to the standards and the education. There's so many other problems that we have to deal with that a lot of schools don't. And yes, that has to do with being a Title I school, but it mostly has to do with the neighborhood we're servicing. And that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I mean, all of us chose to be there. We love working with these kids. We love working in this neighborhood. And so we help them as best as we can, and we chime in when we can, and we provide guidance when we can, but we also know our role, and we know that our role is not to come in and change this neighborhood. Our role is to teach in the neighborhood. You know, like, we're not coming in to change anybody or make anybody's life better or blah blah blah. If you're going into a Title I school with that mentality, then you need to go to a different school. If that, like, that sounds harsh, but I'm just really like passionate about this. I do really think that reading the book For White Folks That Teach in the Hood is very eye-opening, and it's also very much research-based. So people who are argumentative about whatever, it's research, and he's a really educated man, and it's just an awesome book. So I'll link that book down below. I love that book. I've read it like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, so my admin is great about backing us up if there's an issue. We have security officers in our buildings at all time, and I never feel, I don't know, never feel uncomfortable in my building. I always feel safe. I don't think our students ever feel uncomfortable. I think they always feel safe. So it's just a really great place to work. So best classroom management tips, that'll be in that video that I'm linking down below. And then how do you handle the age difference all day? I was really worried about that when I started my K-6 music job. I didn't know how I was going to handle it because I had always taught middle school, and middle school's not that big of an age difference, and it was all choir. I actually really enjoy the age difference. So every day I go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 K for my schedule. So every day I have a different grade level every 45 minutes. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. It's a really fast speed of pace throughout the day. It makes my day go really quick, and I don't have like downtime or board time. When I taught middle school choir, I felt like sometimes the day was just dragging, and now I don't. Like, pretty much I blink and the day's over, and I'm like, did I survive? I did? Okay, good. So I don't know. I really like the age differences, but I also think it's advantageous that I got to teach middle school first. So all of them seem like pretty young to me, and the attitudes just aren't comparable at all to middle school and high school attitudes, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed the age differences throughout the day. There obviously is a huge difference between 6th grade and kindergarten, but I think it keeps it interesting. And as long as you have good classroom management, then all of your classes should be fun and enjoyable. And then someone said, what is your overall best moment that happened in the music classroom? Ooh, that's a really hard question. There's really not one big moment that comes to mind. I'm sure I'll think of something later and I'll be like, oh man, I should have said that. There's been a few. One that I'm thinking of is when I was at my middle school, my 2nd year of teaching, I got one of my male students into the Cincinnati boy choir, which is a super big deal, and he got a scholarship, and that was really amazing. Another moment is the past 2 years I've had soloists at our holiday program, and the way that our staff and the other students responded to them was so amazing. It was so amazing to see how confident they were performing in front of hundreds of other students, and just how proud they were of their performance. That was really awesome. Taking my choir this year to sing the national anthem at a college football game was hands down one of the coolest moments ever. I also had some cool moments when I taught show choir. One season I played in the band for the show choir, so not only did I help assistant direct it, but I also played in the band during the competitions, and that was really fun because I got to sort of work alongside the high school band kids as like their peer almost, because we were working together, and it wasn't like I was helping direct them, but I wasn't, because I was playing with them, and I wasn't even playing the like top part, I was playing the middle part. So that was just a really cool moment to be a part of, and it was just nice to see them in like a different realm than like teacher student. It was like working cohesively as a unit, and I think that really was just fun for everybody. And the other moment that comes to mind is my second year of teaching at the middle school. I developed a show choir program, and the kids had their first show choir performance in February, and they got to perform at the high school, and they were so proud of themselves and they were so excited, and that was just really cool. There were also quite a few staff members that came out to support that, and that was just really neat for me and the kids to see that support there, even though it was at a different building and stuff. And I don't know, just seeing the kids that went from the middle school and then kept doing music in high school was really heartwarming for me. I also had a student this year that I taught in 6th grade last year, and he came back and he's in 7th grade. I only taught him for 1 year because it's my second year at the building, and he said that he signed up for a music class at his high school, so I thought that was really cool. So I don't know, a lot of really like small moments come to mind. When I left my middle school, my 6th graders threw me a surprise farewell party that was really sweet, and they did surprise me a lot. So I don't know, a lot of really awesome small moments combined to make one big good teaching journey so far. It's only been 3.5 years, or wait, how many years? Yeah, 3.5, but it's been a good 3.5 years. If you have watched this whole thing, I appreciate you. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you can see the rest of my teaching vlogs once we go back to school, and I hope you're having a fabulous Christmas wherever you are.